that? That's amazing. Hey everyone, today in this video, we're going to be checking out the MSI MPG VELOX 100R gaming PC case. I did receive this product to review, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product, you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. You can see the nice retail box and packaging right here, walking us through some of the key features on this side. We can spin it around to the other side so you can see more of the tech specs for this gaming case. But we have USB Type-C, 4 ARGB fans included, as well as an ARGB control board, tempered glass, magnetic filter, and optimized airflow. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, you can see we have our product literature right here with our user guide and manual walking us through everything we know about our new gaming PC case right here. So very detailed, thorough, walking you through step by step, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. They have you covered right here, and they even have your vertical GPU installation instructions. Next, you can see our quick installation guide, giving you basically the SparkNotes version for a fast install. You can see that from both sides. Next, we have our hardware kit with some zip ties. Looks like we got 2 fan extenders as well. All of our screws, everything in there. Here's our vertical GPU bracket that we need for the case with included hardware. Just nice and twisty tied on for us. And last but not least, we have the case itself. Let's go ahead, let's look at this in more detail. Here's the case from the top. Check it out. Everything looks great. We have our magnetic cover right there. Easy to remove and install. Then you can see power button, reset switch. We have our hard drive indicator lights right there. You can see headphone jack. We have our mic jack, 2 USBs, USB Type-C, and an LED control button right there. Next up, you can see the front panel with the MSI logo, and we have the MPG branding at the bottom. You can see through the tempered glass, we have 3 of our 120 millimeter ARGB fans. And the very bottom right here, you can actually pull this front panel cover off. Here's a look at it with the front panel cover removed. You can see those fans, how they're wired, and how everything looks on the front. Here's a look at the back side. You can see our 4th case fan included for our exhaust. This is where your motherboard I/O shield's gonna go, our PCIe expansion slots, and where we're going to install our power supply. Here's the very bottom of the case. You can see the 4 feet that we have, where we can pull off the front panel if we want to remove that. And you can see on this side, we can pull out our dust cover for our power supply fan to easily clean and dust as needed. And then you can see it just slides right back in place. Now you can see our front side tempered glass panel. So this is on a hinge, which I found pretty unique. Now, with that being said, there are some adjustments we're going to have to make to our particular case to get everything lined up to close. I can tell from shipping or manufacturing, it's off. So it's not actually shutting in the corner right there. So we're going to have to kind of bend this, slide it around, and we should be able to work it back in place so we can get that to create a nice latch for us. But we do have a tempered glass side panel on hinges. This is removable too, so you can just gently slide up to pull the whole piece off if you wanted. So let's go ahead, let's remove it now so we can see inside. Here's a look at the inside. So you can see our 3 intake fans, our 1 exhaust fan, all 4 of them are 120 millimeters ARGB. We have plenty of room for a wide variety of configurations within this case, depending on what we're trying to accomplish and what cooler or cooling system we want to use. And again, don't forget, if you want to mount your GPU vertically, you can do that in this case and reconfigure it with the included pieces. But a lot of different grommets up here and down below that we can use to route all of our cables through to the backside for a nice clean build. We have a cutout down here in the power supply shroud that we can see to focus in on the power supply unit that we're using. Maybe we have a little screen, something like that. So that's cool that we have that cut out for us right there. But plenty of room, whether it's mounting a radiator up top or off to the side, whatever you want to do, you'll be able to have some fun, really configure it how you see fit. And lastly, now you're looking at the back side panel right here. This is pretty cool because instead of just a solid piece of metal We actually have some ventilation and some breathability for some improved airflow in this case. We have to take these two screws out. You can use a Phillips head screwdriver, or if they're finger tight, you could just go ahead, you can slide it off like we're doing right here. And you can see the back side of this case and everything that's included, how they've routed the cables so far. They're all just down here through the bottom. We have our hard drive SSD cage right there. Slots for some additional 2.5-inch drives you can mount right there. You can see our control panel for our RGB right there. Some extra cables and how everything's been run so far. But we can just route everything through this main artery right here and get it to where we need for our build. So now let's go ahead, let's get our PC built. The PC is built, check it out right here. Let's open up our tempered glass door to reveal all the great MSI parts and components. So we have our beautiful core liquid cooler with built-in display right now showing us readouts of our hardware monitoring, giving us some RPM speeds, temps, things like that. To our pride and joy, the MSI RTX 3080 Ti. And then peeking out down at the bottom right here, you can see we have our MSI A1000G power supply, giving us plenty of juice for this build. Now let's look at everything up close. So we're going into the build. First thing I want to showcase right here for you, the beautiful built-in RGB accent strip at the bottom. Really a nice touch. I was pleasantly surprised with that. I actually want to see more of that on this case because I think they did a really nice job with it. I like the cutout at the bottom too, so we can see our power supply, especially if you invest in one that has a screen or display or anything like that. Ours has the cool MSI Dragon as well as MPG on the side. Then you can see the pride and joy again, the MSI RTX 3080 Ti. This RGB is massively bright, so I really like the look of that in our build too. You can see how it's connected with our power supply cables. Then our centerpiece too, our MSI core liquid cooler with built-in display, currently showing our metrics. So we had some RPMs, our CPU temps, pump fan. We can customize that within MSI's very own software. Can't forget about our lovely motherboard. You can see the Dragon RGB illuminating and peeking through. This is the Z690 Edge Wi-Fi DDR4. The only non-MSI component we have right here in this build is our Lexar memory, 32 gigabytes. We got all of our connectors right there, USB Type-C, USB 3.0. We have our main board power supply. All of our fans and AIO, everything's connected up here at the top for our cooling. CPU power. We'll show the very bottom too to get all of our connectors. HD audio, RGB. We have our USB for our AIO. Then we have our front panel connector right there for our power button reset switch, things like that. Great cable management options. Let's look at that rear exhaust fan. We have 3 of those on the front of the case as well. We'll see them from inside. The RGB is really nice. Now let's go ahead, let's cycle through the RGB controls. They're at the very top of the case right here. You can go ahead, you can press that button and change all the lights right from the case. So I showed the wrong button. I zoomed in on the reset button when I should be showing you the LED button. We can toggle through the different LED RGB settings right here built in to our lovely case. Now keep in mind, this won't change all of the RGB. Currently we're in my favorite mode for the case, but watch as I press the button, you can see it now has changed the fans and our strip that's built into the case. Different colors, they're all red now, whereas our GPU, our RAM, and our motherboard, those colors didn't change. In our case, I would recommend downloading Mystic Light. That's what we use to sync and control all of the components, but I do like having the built-in LED light as well, especially if you don't have any other RGB, then you don't need to have any additional software to control everything. It's nice to have that physical button. So they look really cool. Again, choose your color individually, or if you want to use some of the rainbow modes, showing multiple colors. I really like how this one looks. So definitely my favorite. Love having the rainbow RGB. And then it matches the other RGB that we have set right here. So super convenient to have that button built in at the top. Now we got to look at the back side as well. While the front side looks good, we have some work to do on the back, but we tidied it up somewhat for this video here. You can really geek out and go all out for your cable management. Plenty of tie down and zip tie points. You can use the MSI included Velcro and cable straps. Plenty of channels, both sides and down the center. And obviously, with how we have everything built, we have plenty of room for expansion, adding additional 2.5-inch drives, 3.5-inch drives. If we need to add any additional cables to our power supply, we can actually do that fairly easily. So I'm happy with the channels and everything that they gave us. You'll be able to do something similar and get your back panel back on without any issues. Now let's talk about the performance and temps with this case. Obviously, it's going to vary depending on the parts and components that you use. For the first test, we have the PC idling with all of our panels on, and we have our hardware monitor pulled up showing us all the different temperatures for our motherboard, our CPU, our M.2 drive, our GPU. You can see all that on the screen right now, with our current value being the current temperature, then our minimum and maximum. Again, all of this is just at idle. So our CPU, our 12700K, we're showing around 33 or so degrees Celsius, give or take, with the minimum being 30 degrees Celsius and a maximum being 45, usually just at idle. No matter how long it's been on, it's around the low 30s is what you can expect, which is great. Again, a lot of that has to do with our core liquid cooler, so keep that in mind. Then we have our M450, that's our M.2 drive, showing a minimum and current temp of 43 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 44, so that really hasn't fluctuated at all. Our GPU, 39.6 degrees is our current temp, with a minimum being 39.4 degrees Celsius and a maximum being 39, so a little bit of a variation there, but not much. I mean, we're talking just a couple of tenths of a degree. Now let's go ahead, let's put our PC under 100% load and see the temp results. Our CPU is being maxed out with Cinebench R23 at 100% utilization, and we have some noticeably warm air coming out of the top of the case, as you would expect, because that's where our radiator is, exhausting out all that heat from our CPU. As I feel the back fan on this case exhausting out what's coming in from the front, it also feels like it's still room temperature, which is great. So we're not really getting any hot air coming out the back side here. All of the heat is coming from that CPU and our AIO coming out the top. And we look at the temps, they really haven't increased that much outside of the CPU, but even under max load for the CPU, we're peaking at 84 degrees Celsius, and it's usually hovering around 80 degrees Celsius at 100%. Again, peaking at 84. I thought for sure we'd hit 90. So the case is keeping everything nice and cool, or giving us enough airflow to allow our AIO to do a good job keeping it nice and cool. So we got to get a lot of credit to where credit's due, and that's going to be our core liquid AIO CPU cooler. But I like the design of this case because even though we have tempered glass on the front, they give us plenty of breathability along the sides for those 3 intake fans. And on the back of this case, you can't see it right now, but on that back panel, we actually have some good ventilation as well. And then obviously we have ours venting out the top with our radiator. So that's great too, because hot air naturally rises as it is. So count me impressed. Looking at the other metrics, our M.2 drive really didn't go up at all. And our GPU just went up a couple degrees to 42.8 degrees Celsius. So nothing to worry about there either. As our PC is encountering some extreme workloads, it's all within range. So you'll be happy to know that with this case, it's going to be able to handle whatever load you want to throw at it. Asterisk, depending on maybe some of the other parts and components in the cooler that you use. But in our case, with this all MSI build, everything's working great. Now for fun, I have a smoke machine here. We're gonna shoot it into that front panel along the side so you can see the smoke accumulate in the actual case itself and get a better feel for the airflow here. But I expect most of it to shoot out the top with a little bit of it shooting out the side. Again, we're shooting it in the back. This will be pretty quick. You should be able to see it inside the case and then watch it exhaust out very, very quickly. So here we go. Look at that. That's amazing. That is awesome. So majority of that came out the top, as you would expect, with that 3-fan design, but I did see some come out the back as well. So you can get an idea for the airflow. It's going to bring that cool air in, right? And as soon as it hits inside, those top 3 fans are going to force it all up and out, with a little bit coming out the back as well. Let's try that one more time if we can right here. Oh, that's so cool. Look at it in there, and then look at it come right out. Maybe it looks better in person, but that's pretty neat to get a feel for the airflow here with this case. Doing a good job dissipating the smoke, obviously. But again, you get the idea here. Cool air is going to come in, the hot air is going to rise, and it's going to all exhaust out the top and the side. So now, after using the MSI 100R, let me share with you my final thoughts. First thing I want to talk about is the whole build process. This is a great case, plenty of room if you want to do custom water cooling and AIO, just a regular air cooler, you want to cram a bunch of fans in here, things like that. You have the ability to do that with this case, but it's not too massive either, right? You can still move it around. It's not overbearing or anything like that. Plenty of room on the back side too for cable managing if you want to geek out with that. They give you all the tools you need. I also like the simple things like having the cutout at the bottom for the power supply, especially if you have a fancy one that you want to display a screen or RGB or things like that. I also was pleasantly surprised when I booted it up for the first time that we had this built-in RGB strip. I did not know we would have that, and I think it looks so good. The design of this case is very simple, but it works. Tempered glass on the side, tempered glass on the front, and beautiful RGB fans. They don't skimp on that. They give you 3 for the front, 1 for the back. They're all the same. They're all RGB, and they look really, really nice. You also may appreciate having this built-in hinge for your tempered glass panel. I think that's really cool. I hadn't seen that design before, and I've built in a lot of tempered glass cases. So I thought it was really unique, and I actually do like the concept of having this basically be a glass door. Now, unfortunately for me, in my experience, the sample that was sent had a damaged hinge, and this didn't even line up or shut. I was able to take pliers and bend this into shape, the shape that I needed to get it to make its proper latch, but it did wreck the finish, and that was just another hassle in the build process. Obviously, if you're buying it and it comes damaged, you can return it, but that's just one more thing that could possibly go wrong in shipping. And I found it unusual because our sample box wasn't damaged at all. So I don't know if it happened in the factory or what, but anyways, just something to keep in mind. If yours doesn't come damaged though, which chances are it won't, I think you'll appreciate having this design. It also makes it easy to work on your PC, right? You want to add some additional RAM, swap out the GPU, things like that. Then you don't have to worry about like taking the panel off, you know, having it fall down, scratching it, scraping it, things like that. You can literally just open it all the way back until it bumps into any of your cables. So that's super convenient in my opinion. I also like at the top how we have our ports configured off to the side. You may or may not like that. I think it works great for this build and case, and it's just cool to have them all lined up at the top, especially if you want to set your phone or tablet or things down. You still have room up there without blocking them. So I think they did a really good job. Power button, LED controls, USB Type-C. They give you everything you need. So no complaints with this case. It does a great job. Managed our temps just fine for the parts and components that we used, and it looks really nice.